So what's on top of a beehive? Well, normally you have an outer cover like this that protects from the elements. It's got that metal piece. And then normally you have the bees that are going to be in here on these frames. We just extracted honey from these. This would be an inner cover. It's got a little notch here. It sits on top. The bees run around inside. They can come up through here. And then they will come up through the back there, run around. Then this outer cover sits up there on top, and that protects from the elements. All right, and they can go in their front entrance, and then they can sneak out the back. But what happens if you have bee huts and you want all of the vapor and all of the aerosol? And man, I wish you could smell this. Just even these frames that we've just extracted honey from. Oh, it smells amazing. And yes, this is leftover honey. Oh, that's good. Anyway, so what do we do? What do we do if we want all that vapor and all that good smell to come up into the beehives, into the bee huts? Well, that is where we have these. These are kind of my own invention. This is what I call my cover, screen cover, I guess. So what I do is I don't have that top or the inner cover. What I do to cover our beehives in the bee huts is I just put on one of these. And then what you get is you get the screen, so it keeps the bees down below, and then it lets all the vapor come up off of the hive. Works incredibly well, except for one thing. The bees actually kind of don't like having an open top. They would much, more honey. They would much prefer to have a solid top because they like to work in the dark and do their thing. So they will begin to fill in this thing. So I've got a few here that have been come off of hives. Given enough time, this is what the bees will do. They will go ahead and they will fill in all of this, and that is what we call propolis. So it's a special kind of a wax, uses some tree sap and some other things. This is some other just regular beeswax that they build, but the bees that were using this screen cover all but closed up and made their own top. You know what we do with those is kind of turn those into art. We like to frame those. There are just some unbelievably pretty patterns that come off of them. So like those, we just have a whole bunch of them that we make into artwork. But it's also called a propolis trap because basically I could put that in the freezer, knock all this propolis off of here, and that actually is another product that comes from the bees, which is really quite good for you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we've got these two that have never been used, and I actually need to help out some folks. I'm going to get them some screen tops. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a few of my older ones that are all put together. These two look promising, and we're going to reuse these. Now, this part gets a little scratchy. So we'll put on gloves. Where are my tools? I had a bucket of tools. I think I left it outside the door. All right. And it turns out it's pretty easy to reuse these. What I do is over time I've learned that my best plan is to literally just cut them out along the edges. So I can do this. There we go. Oop. Beautiful. Another piece of art. That's so pretty. It's just amazing patterns that they make. All right. Now we take this. I don't know if I can get any of the old screen off. We'll see. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. This one's got a bit of build-up here. So we'll just see what I can get off there. Alright, I don't get too worried about it. As long as I can get that next piece of screen down on there and get it sealed on, I'll be a happy boy. Alright. Another project, assembling the hose cart. Alright, this one. Can I get any of this one off? The most important thing is to not leave wire poking in where the bees are going to get to it. I think I've got that on both of these. Okay, and that made a lovely little mess there. Yeah, these folding tables from Costco, always handy. But once upon a time, a while back, I brought them out to use them for something with the bees, and you know, that pretty much made them bee tables for the rest of their lives. There's just sticky fun. Okay, so building the next one, I've also found that one of the things that's an important thing for me to have, get over here, is this roll of screen. So this roll of screen, hello, I'm doing a demo recording of building out these screens real quick, which I need to get done before we go get the gross washer. So I'll probably be another couple of minutes. All right. Just measure it out. Always handy to have a giant roll of screen around for the bee huts. And for beekeeping, it comes in handy for so many things. Okay, and that screen goes back in that box. Look at that. Okay, thank you. And then we go ahead and position the screen, and one of my favorite things, helps to have staples in there. Love my Ryobi tools. When I first started doing this, I used one of those you have to do by hand. How fun that was. Okay, that's around all the edges. Last step. Go ahead and take off the extra screen. And right here, we'll trim that up. Works best with a razor knife, but sometimes if you can't get a clean cut, then there we are. 2 more screen taps. There's 4, ready to roll.